What if ancient spiritual beliefs weren't just metaphors? What if they were actually pointing to a physical reality, something hidden deep inside our own brains? Well, today we're diving into a pretty radical theory that connects the dots between karma and neurology. And honestly, it might just change how you think about consciousness itself.
So, this whole idea is built around one central and kind of provocative question. What if karma wasn't just some abstract spiritual concept? What if the sum total of your past lives was physically encoded right now inside your very brain cells? I know, it's a wild idea, so let's unpack how this theory suggests it could actually work.
Okay, here's the core premise in a nutshell. The theory suggests that the spiritual residue of our past lives, our karma, is physically stored as what it calls karmic atoms. And these atoms are located within specific neurons deep inside our midbrain. This is the absolute foundation for everything else we're going to talk about.
So here's our roadmap. First up, we're going to break down this proposed connection between the soul and the brain. Then, we'll get into the pretty surprising rules for how your so-called karmic balance is spent. After that, we'll follow a really interesting symbolic leap from individual neurons to the entire cosmos. And finally, we'll see if any of this can actually be put to the test.
Right. To really get our heads around this model, we need to understand its three basic building blocks: what it says the soul is, where it claims the soul actually lives in the body, and the mechanism for how it supposedly stores all that karmic data. The theory brings two key players to the table. On one side, you have the soul, which the source material calls Parasakti. That's a term from Hindu philosophy for the Supreme Divine Mother. And on the other side, you've got its proposed physical home, or its seat, which is supposedly located just above the pineal gland, with the karma itself stored in those nearby midbrain neurons. And these special cells get a very specific name: arrested soul atom neurons. Now, the key word here is arrested. The whole idea is that this karmic content is literally locked away, just sitting inside these neurons, waiting for some kind of trigger to be released or liberated. And this is where the theory hooks directly into the cycle of reincarnation. It suggests we are born again and again and again for one main reason: to create the exact life experiences needed to liberate the karmic content from every single one of these arrested neurons. Until the very last one is cleared, well, the cycle just keeps on going.
So, if all this karma is stored up in our neurons, how is it actually spent? This brings us to the rules of karmic accounting. And honestly, this might be the most surprising part of the whole theory.
This is where things get really interesting, because the theory basically turns our typical understanding of karma completely on its head. It proposes that if you come into this life with a surplus of good karma, your task is to spend it, often through actions we'd consider bad. And, on the flip side, if you're carrying a lot of bad karma, your job is to be a good person, to suffer through life's hardships and basically burn it all off. According to this model, this is the cosmic reason why we so often see good people suffer.
Okay, but how do the right people find each other to settle these cosmic debts across the globe? Well, the theory makes a huge leap into physics for the answer. It proposes that every human subconscious is connected through quantum entanglement. You can think of it like an invisible cosmic network that makes sure the person who needs to, say, deliver a punishment, is mysteriously drawn to the person who needs to receive it, no matter where they are in the world.
So the big question is there a way to clear this karma without all the real-world suffering? The theory proposes a pretty fascinating loophole. It suggests that through deep meditative prayer, you can actually activate your subconscious mind, and this allows you to experience a future karmic event as a vivid dream. The dream itself is apparently enough to liberate the neuron, settling the debt, without you ever having to live through the actual painful event.
So how does the theory actually connect the hard science of a single neuron to these grand cosmic spiritual ideas? Well, it does it with a really clever symbolic leap, and it's all based on a single word.
First, let's start with the straight-up biology. In neuroscience, the soma is the cell body of a neuron. It's the command center. It contains the nucleus, and it controls all of the cell's functions. Pretty straightforward.
But now, check this out. Let's look at the exact same word, soma, in a completely different context. In Hindu mythology, soma is another name for Lord Shiva, a deity who is associated with divine consciousness and is often seen as the cosmic body of the entire universe.
And the source material doesn't just hint at this, it makes the connection explicit. It asks the question directly: can we draw a line? Can we correlate the neuron's control center, its soma, and the cosmic consciousness represented by Lord Shiva,
who is also called soma. Now, it's really important to understand this isn't being presented as a direct scientific fact. It's a philosophical analogy. It's using the shared word soma to build a symbolic bridge, just inviting us to think about the microcosm of the neuron's little control center as a reflection of the macrocosm of the entire universe.
Look, an intriguing theory is one thing, but can it be tested? The author doesn't just leave this in the realm of philosophy. They actually propose a concrete framework for bringing these ideas into the science lab.
So the proposal outlines 3 specific scientific methods. First, using MRI scans to see if that midbrain region actually lights up when someone is meditating on these karmic memories. Second, using EEG monitors to see if they can find specific brain waves like gamma waves during those so-called liberating dreams. And finally, using biochemical tests to measure changes in stress hormones like cortisol before and after the whole experience. And all of this builds to the theory's really powerful conclusion. It completely reframes the relationship we have with our own brains. You see, in this view, the brain isn't just a machine that produces the mind. No. Instead, it's a highly advanced instrument, a receiver maybe, for a much deeper, karmically entangled soul to manifest itself right here in the physical world.
And so we're left with this profound question, one that really challenges the very foundations of neuroscience. Is our mind just the ghost in the machine, a byproduct of neurons firing? Or is the machine itself, our brain, an exquisitely tuned antenna, picking up a consciousness that is far older and far larger than we are? That's the ultimate thought this theory leaves us to ponder.